Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and thank you to the member for Lawlott for putting forward this motion. And as a fellow Victorian MP, it's with great pleasure that I stand here to acknowledge and celebrate the fact that for the first time in a decade we have a federal government that delivers Victoria its fair share and delivers the infrastructure our communities need. It wasn't too long ago, of course, that we had a Treasurer who, despite being from Victoria, was not for Victoria. As the motion says, what we saw from the Abbott-Turnbull-Morrison government was a decade of neglect when it comes to Victoria. The previous Prime Minister was called the PM for Sydney, a well-deserved moniker. Not only did Victoria miss out on infrastructure funding in budget after budget, we were left out as New South Wales got much more vaccine stock than they needed, leaving Victoria and other states short, a record of being left behind. And who can forget the rorts? Pork barrelling as far as the eye could see, the coloured spreadsheets, the commuter car parks. Finally, after a decade, it's at an end. The previous federal government's lack of support for Victoria was contrasted with the substantial and ongoing commitment of the Victorian state government to communities right across the state, particularly in delivering important infrastructure projects. The Victorian government, with a lack of support from Canberra, went out and did it alone. As much as having a partner in Canberra over the past decade to work together on projects would have helped our state, the Victorian government got on with the job anyway. And over 8 years, we've seen so many great projects that I know have made a great difference to the lives of Victorians, including in Jagga Jagga. Every day I drive through Rosanna and under the rail bridge that used to be a level crossing. It can be possible to forget that just a couple of years ago things were very different there. There was a level crossing and people spent a lot of time sitting at those boom gates at Lower Plenty Road, where now they just drive on through. Projects like the removal of the Rosanna level crossing and the building of the new train station there have made a really big change to our community. It's created a welcoming connection on either side of the railway line. There's an excellent social enterprise cafe just down at the railway station there. And as I said, time saved from sitting at a level crossing. I'm so pleased and excited to see that the Andrews government has recently announced the removal of the level crossing in Ruthven Street, Macleod will be the next one, and that'll happen over the next couple of years. As we've seen in Rosanna, I'm sure the Macleod project will deliver a great outcome for the community there, not least by resolving what is another traffic pitch point and making that a space that works for the whole community. And this is the real tangible difference that Labor governments make. We've seen it at a state level, and now that we have a Labor government here in Canberra to partner with the states and territories, we see it at a federal level. We see how we can maximise the opportunities that exist there for us to deliver the important community infrastructure we all need. On the topic of rail, of course, I'm very pleased to note the contribution of $2.2 billion from the Albanese government to the Suburban Rail Loop project. And this is a really big project, but Melbourne is a big city, and it's a city that's only going to keep getting bigger. And the Suburban Rail Loop will help meet the needs of Melburnians, connecting rail lines and eventually linking up to the airport line too. And again, I'm sure this experience is replicated across Melbourne, but in communities like mine in the suburbs, people are looking for those connections. They are looking for the infrastructure work that makes their lives easier, that makes it easier for them to get around. So now, at the moment, Melbourne has a train system that's very much focused on getting in and out of the city. What the Suburban Rail Loop will get us is the potential to get around the city. And while the initial phase of the project is focused to the east of Melbourne, I know there is a very keen interest in my community in the northeast for the future plans to build new stations at Doncaster, at Heidelberg, at Bundoora and beyond. As I've said, people in my community are looking for governments with vision, governments who get things done, who make a difference in their lives. We've had that, we've got that in Victoria with the Andrews Labor government, and now we have that for Australia with the Albanese Labor government. Our government's first budget is just the beginning. There is still a lot of work to do to make sure we are investing in Victoria, that we're investing for my community and all Victorian communities. But I know, with collaboration with the Victorian government, our government will get this work done.